Hey, it's Derek from ForeGolf Custom today, and we're looking at TaylorMade's new SIM2 driver. There's three heads. There's a SIM2, a SIM2 Max, and a SIM2 MAXD. Be careful. It's complicated. You need to get the lofts right on this driver, and I know I say that a lot, but we've seen it on the fittings here. It's not the same as last year's Sim. It's a different product altogether, and also I've got some fitters tips and tricks, the things that David is doing at the fitting sessions that are bringing the best out of this driver, so keep watching. So if you're new to the channel, you're very welcome. This is all about fitting information. It's not necessarily how we hit the ball, but it's Dave's and myself's insights into the drivers, how we're fitting them, and how you might get the best from them. Today, you have to be very careful that you go through these three different heads. We've information relating to the lofts and why it's so important, and also really good fitting tips and tricks that Dave is using for these drivers for each individual fitting session. Right, Dave, out of the blocks, the SIM2 MAXD. Just talk to me about this head, why you would use this head over the Sim Max.
A driver I tend to use a lot of. Inevitably, amateur golfers come over the top, their planes out to in, creates a slice motion or a fade motion.
So if you're right-handed and you're missing it right.
Or if you're left-handed, you miss left. Great product. You get more weight in the heel, which encourages the head to rotate. You've got a closed face. So mechanisms, when you add twist face in there, 3 or 4 different mechanisms to stop the golf ball wanting to slice on you.
So the player profile then, I mean, handicap-wise, is it? I know you don't like doing that, but is it that higher handicap type player?
Well, it's anybody with a slice off the tee, basically. There's a lot of applications, yes, primarily from a swings perspective. Worse swings tend to come from higher handicappers, so inevitably use it from a higher handicapper's perspective, but there's lots of applications for it from a good player's perspective as well, even if just to take a little cut away from the driver to keep it a little bit of extra distance on it.
Shafts on this?
Yeah.
Are you using lightweight, heavyweight?
Lightweight, loads of torque, anything that encourages the golf club head to rotate and keep it from the cut side.
Brilliant. And so give us your fitting tip or trick on this that people could take away at home.
So every time with draw bias drivers, you can also use the loft sleeve to add another mechanism to stop it slicing, as it were. So inevitably come down in loft and rotate the head to the higher position. That just closes the face a little bit more, and it gives you a little bit more control to that cut side.
That's a great tip from Dave. So what he's saying is, if you're normally 10.5, come down a loft, so go down to the 9, and then rotate the sleeve around to higher, which will close the face and make it even more draw, so it'll lower the flight, stop it getting into the air, and get a little bit more distance and a lot more straighter and hitting those fairways. So then SIM2 Max, I see them going through a workshop. You're liking this head this year?
I think the most versatile variant of the family. I think it has a lot more applications than maybe would have done in the past. In Sim, I would have tended to do a lot of 10.5s. This year, because you've got these kind of very heavy 24 gram weight at the back, it's going to launch, so I'm using more lower launch 9-degree heads as well, because it comes in 9, 10.5 as well as a 12. So the weight at the back of the head is creating the launch. It's also creating stability, it's also creating high MOI. So these are all positive things in helping to keep the golf ball straight. So you can go down in loft because there's lots of other things to make it more forgiving than necessarily having more loft on it.
So shaft-wise in this, you're going heavyweight, lightweight? What are you seeing most?
Lightish, 50, 55 grams.
Okay.
Tended to use a stiffer or firmer flex. I hate using the word stiff because there's so many variants of it, but firmish, so you've got less movement or lag in the shaft, so it helps get the head to where it needs it to be at impact. Okay,
and then, so player profile, this is kind of your go-to, isn't it? It's pretty much suiting everybody.
Now, we'll go into it more when we discuss Sim2, but these weights from a builder's perspective and a custom's perspective are adjustable. So from a fitter's perspective, brilliant, until you have to start messing around with the weights to get them spot on or perfect for the client. So I'm doing a lot more manipulation to the weights, where in the past I've never manipulated these. In this product, I'm manipulating to get the flight exactly what I want it to be. Very possible, but not necessarily. I would have said Sim was a plug and play. You could have bought it out of a shop.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more complicated because as a club builder, there are variants in the weights.
So what's the fitter's trick? What's the tip you'll be gotten from this driver this year?
Again, predominantly it would have been go 10.5 stiff last year.
Yeah.
This year, I'm using a little bit more of the 9s than I would have done in the 10.5. So it can be a lower lofted profile because the weight chip at the back of the head at 24 grams is creating the ability to get the ball into the air.
So you're controlling that spin and flight using loft this year?
Yes, losing loft and then using the firmness in the shaft.
Brilliant, great tip, good takeaway. Okay, so SIM2.
Okay.
This is the one that we need to probably expand on a little bit.
Okay.
So if I had SIM last year, which was a phenomenal driver for us.
It was.
We did really well with it, great, customers loved it. Strong hitters, good ball strikers loved it. If I bought SIM last year, am I buying SIM2 this year?
SIM was my go-to driver if you had a positive attack angle, as in you hit up on the golf ball and produce launch, for keeping launch and spin off it, which are the two things that are created as a result of having a positive attack angle. So SIM was my priority go-to driver for that profile. In SIM2, that front track and weight have gone. So instead of having a front weight to lower the CG and reduce spin, you have a reduction of weight in the back of the head. But primarily it is still a back-weighted driver now. So it still wants to get the ball up in the air. If you are that power, really positive attack angle, seeing a lot of guys positive 4s, positive 5s, I couldn't see a reason for them to move out of SIM, but I can see the people who wanted SIM who couldn't hit it last year being able to play this product extremely well.
Very good point. And then similarly, if I was M5 or even M3, if I'm going back in iterations in this kind of a, I guess, category of driver, should I consider this driver?
Again, if you think back to M3 and M5, they had tracks that went backwards and forwards and draw and fade. They inevitably had more weight at the back anyway. So this product will certainly beat the other two, M3, M5, as you mentioned, for forgiveness, stability, usability and distance.
Great points again. And then shaft-wise, what are you putting into this? What are you seeing working well?
So if we go back to the launch thing, just quickly, TaylorMade don't bring things out without a logical reason behind it. And this year there's an 8 degree, which has proven quite popular from a fittings perspective. Again, it's all about trying to keep the spin off it and keep the launch off it. So I'm using heavier front weights to try and keep the center of gravity forward so it doesn't launch and doesn't spin, shortening the shaft, adding weight to it and making it very, very stable in the tip. So as a plug and play product, I think it's a complicated shelf buy. As a fitter's product, you can make it do exactly what SIM used to, but with a lighter weight for more speed and for more distance. But I have to manipulate the driver to get it to do that. But now, if I don't manipulate the spin through the weights or the shafts or the weights or the balances or the kick points, then it's not really doing what SIM used to.
So what's your fitter's trick? So if I'm a, let's say 155 plus ball speed golfer, hit it hard, and I hit it on the up, what's your trick?
I think the trick with this one is where you would have been 9 degrees SIM last year, you're probably now 8 degrees in this variant. And then where you must ensure that you get that front weight, the weight built heavier at the front to try and keep that extra little bit of spin off it.
And the hosel sleeve?
The hosel sleeve, more open than closed or lower, as TaylorMade would describe it. So where the face is a little bit open, and again, it helps reduce a little bit of the side spin to keep the ball flat through the air.
So maybe to qualify a few things there, this is a really golf's first huge amount of carbon fiber in the design. So with this geometry that they're using with the lower weight, especially positioned across the sole and across the crown, means that weight's being pushed to the very back or the back edge of the club. This aluminium frame as well that houses the weight is creating a lot more spin and launch and flight that we see in this driver versus last year's Sim. And with that then, Dave is talking about his weight, the movement of the weight or the using of the weight at the front. Just to qualify, this is a club making, club fitting thing for us to, I guess, access for swing weight. But what we're actually doing with it is we're using those weight ports to control where the weight is and how to control the spin and CG location of this driver. It's a little bit trickery from our side, but if you get this fitted right and you use those ports the right way, because we have the different weights, it will prove that it will be the driver to look for. I'm going to put a link to the Sim drivers from last year. I'll put a link up here. You can access that, have a look at that driver and see the differences between the two. But ultimately, if you are thinking about this driver, the loft is the critical thing to get right, and the driver will definitely perform for you. If you like this video, please give us a like. If it's your first time on the channel, please subscribe. Maybe stick down what you think about the SIM2 name. That's probably something that we talked about when it first came out and something we'd be interested to hear what you have to say. And until next time, we'll see you at the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.